Hello, it's me, Coco, and today's video is all about eco-anxiety and related feelings and how we can beat them. Before we get into it, just a little bit about me. I have 2 master's degrees in mental health, but I'm not a licensed therapist and I am not your therapist. If you feel like you need help, I strongly encourage you to go and get professional help. It is great. I've gotten therapy myself and it really works. On top of that background, I also have a regular practice of meditation and yoga, and some of that has informed what I'm going to tell you today. So first, let's define some terms. First, I want to talk about eco-anxiety. Eco-anxiety is defined as a persistent fear or worry about the environment and our future in it. It's also known as eco-distress, eco-trauma, climate change distress. There's a lot of different words for this, but basically what's happening is we're seeing the world burning and feeling really terrible about it and wondering how we can make it stop and feeling helpless. This is really normal, especially today when we're seeing so many things in the news related to climate change and climate disasters happening all over the place, and seeing our future and it's not what we expected. Which brings me to the next term, which is eco-grief. Eco-grief is mourning the loss of the environment and the lifestyle that we once had. This is similar to losing anything in your life, especially something really important, and you might go through the 5 stages of grief to mourn the environment in our lives. First, we got the denial. I'll give you 2 seconds to guess what that might sound like. Next is anger, when you're so angry about what is going on and you just want to find somebody to blame. Oh, it just makes you so mad. And then you're bargaining and you're saying, I'll do this, this, and this. If only it'll make it stop. Like, please, I'll do anything to make it stop. And then there's the depression, when that feeling of hopelessness and helplessness sets in and you feel like there's really nothing you can do to make it stop. I mean, that's hard. That's a really hard state to be in. And then there's the acceptance, when you accept your role in climate change as not only a part of the problem, but also a part of the solution. You just accept it as it is and not how you want it to be. The next feeling that I want to define, I actually haven't heard a lot of other people talk specifically about, and that is eco-guilt. And that goes for any time when you're doing something that is not eco-friendly and you feel really bad about it. So that might be flying, that might be eating meat, that might be using your air conditioner or using plastic. And sometimes it feels like you can't do it good enough, you can't do it perfect enough, and then you get really hard on yourself about it. I think maybe out of the 3, eco-grief, eco-anxiety, and eco-guilt, I think eco-guilt is probably the most detrimental to the self because you're taking on so much personal responsibility and it feels like the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. It's just not the reality. It's a lot more nuanced, a lot more complicated than that. Again, if you're really suffering from this, I highly encourage you to seek professional help. And in just a second, I'm going to give you a toolbox of actual things that you can use and mindsets that you can use to beat these negative feelings while also being a part of the change. Before I get into that though, I want to remind you to hit that like button if the feeling overcomes you at any point in the video. It's going to really help this video reach other people who might need to hear this message, and it would mean a lot to me. Now, into the toolbox, let's open that baby up. The first thing I'm going to talk about, it's kind of like a back to basics tool, and that is self-care. And let's even take it to the radical level. It's radical self-care. And what that means is that you need to take care of yourself first before you can take care of the planet or other people. This idea was popularized by Angela Davis, and she said that they could have done a better job if they had learned how to take care of themselves in the process. What does that look like for us today? Everybody's different. Everybody is going to have self-care in a different way. But here are some places to start. You can go on nature walks, get a little bit of exercise, eat healthy foods that make you feel good, listen to music, journal, meditate, draw or paint. There are so many different things, and you know yourself best. So what I would recommend is actually write all of these things down onto one piece of paper, and that is your self-care toolkit. You might do different self-care things when you're feeling different ways. So you can say, when I feel happy, this is how I do self-care. When I feel sad, this is how I do self-care. When I feel anxious, this is how I do self-care, and so on. You can take this self-care toolkit and utilize it when you need it most. When you're feeling really bad and you're feeling that anxiety setting in, you got to take care of yourself, and that is how you're going to know how to do it right when you need it. The next tool for you is to build a community. Community is very, very important. I know for some people it feels like you're the only person who cares about this stuff, and I guarantee you, I promise you, there are so many people who care a lot just like you, or maybe they're just getting started just like you. It depends on where you are, everybody's different, and you can find a community that's gonna work for you. Maybe your friends and family are into this stuff and you can work on it with them, but maybe they're not. And for those who have a harder time finding like an eco-friendly community with the people who are immediately around them, I would definitely recommend Facebook groups, Reddit groups, meetups. Go to your local community garden, go to your local community center and see if there are some other people that you can get in community with. You can meet other people who are really with you and really want to fight climate change side by side with you. The next thing that you can do is educate yourself. It really does help a lot to have a really good understanding of what's going on, especially so that you can take action later on, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. However, here's a mentality that I think would be wise to adopt when you're learning about climate change. Because it can be so overwhelming and make you feel so helpless and small, I would recommend a middle path attitude about it, where you're learning about it, you're growing, but if you take it way too far, you might get completely overwhelmed and just shut down or get emotional fatigue and not want to even talk about it or think about it ever again. You need to be, wait, over here? Over here, you're not caring, you're not looking at anything. Over here, you're caring way too much. You need to be right in the middle. I would recommend just taking in as much as you can a day, but not going so far that's making you feel anxious or depressed. Not too far out here, in the middle path. With education especially. Okay, so I think all of that maybe you've heard before, but now things are gonna get a little bit interesting. So the next part is to take action. Taking action can look like a lot of different things. You can make small changes in your lifestyle, for example, avoiding plastic, taking public transportation, having a more plant-based diet or a totally plant-based diet. But at the end of the day, it's gonna look different for everybody. In order to conceptualize what that's going to look like for you, I wanna introduce you to the learning growth model that was written by Seninger. In the middle, we have the comfort zone. The comfort zone is like, you don't need to make any changes to be in the comfort zone and, be happy. But you're not gonna learn anything either. And when it comes to climate change and sustainability, for a lot of people, staying in the comfort zone means continuing to take part in practices and habits that are going to be bad for the environment. And so you are actually going to want to get out of your comfort zone so that you can make meaningful changes to help reverse climate change. So that takes you into the growth zone. The growth zone is where you can learn and explore and try different things without feeling like you are in danger, without getting too much anxiety or panic, which is called the panic zone. Remember when I was talking about eco-guilt? That is where the panic zone might be. Some of the most environmentally friendly people might have these feelings, and that's totally normal. But all it means is that you've just taken it a little bit too far outside of the growth zone and into the panic zone, and you might need to just walk it back. Take a deep breath, and you need to tell yourself this: I am doing everything that I can, I'm trying my best, and that is okay. I think this is something that everybody can benefit from hearing and telling themselves, no matter where you are in the journey. And then the thing about this learning zone model is that it's different for everybody, and it can also vary according to the situation, okay? So for some people, their comfort zone might be really small and growth zone is huge, and there's so many different things to try and you're so comfortable. But for some people, the comfort zone is pretty small, pretty narrow, and then you have a narrow learning zone, and then the panic zone is huge and you're just so easily pushed into it. And then for others, you have this comfort zone where you're maybe already pretty eco-friendly, and then you have the learning zone and it's pretty big, and then the panic zone is really just at the edges when something really terrible happens. Everybody's different. I think it's just really important for us to be able to conceptualize where we are on our journey and then just accept it. Don't judge where you are. Try your best, and I wouldn't recommend necessarily trying to justify non-eco-friendly behaviors, but as long as you are trying your best, you know that and you accept that, then you can reduce a lot of the suffering that comes with eco-anxiety and eco-guilt. Okay, so let me give you a little demonstration on the learning zones. Maybe it'll help you understand it a little bit better. If I want to do the splits right now, I don't want to just go thwap right onto the ground because that's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. It's not good to go too fast, right? So I'm going to just kind of, all right, I'm gonna put some socks on. All right, I'm back with some socks so I can demonstrate this a little bit easier. If I wanna do the splits, I'm not gonna go thwap right onto the ground. I'm gonna slide slowly, implementing small changes wherever I can in my life, right? And then eventually I'm going to get to a place where I feel like this is as far as I can go right now. Because of my own personal situation, it's gonna look different for this person and that person, but for me right now, I can go this far. But what happens in the growth zone is that you can get a little bit more comfortable as time goes on, okay? Just like when you're stretching, you can feel when you can go a little bit farther. And here I have these blocks, and these can symbolize the community, my friends and family, YouTube community, right, like right here on my channel. You know, we keep going, and at some point, maybe I feel like I can do it on my own, and then I keep breathing. And if I go too fast, that's gonna put me in the panic zone. I'm gonna get hurt and I'm not gonna wanna do it anymore. But if I stay in the growth zone and I go little by little, making small changes wherever I can eventually get there. Woo! I hope that analogy made sense for you guys, but really what I wanted to demonstrate is that you don't need to go all the way at the beginning. You go as far as you can, and then you just go little by little. And here's another tool that I'm gonna tell you about. When you feel like you have gone as far as you can and you're kind of there for a while, listen to that little voice that's telling you,
you can go a little bit farther now.
That might be when you go out to eat and there is a plant-based burger and you think to yourself, I could get the vegan burger today. Also, shout out to everybody who gets vegan burgers. You're cool, you're cool, you're cool. That little voice is gonna keep challenging you, hopefully in a positive way, okay? You have to make sure that it's always talking to you in a kind and gentle way. But this one's gonna propel you into better habits and helping you try new things. For everybody, it's not about how it looks, it's about how it feels. So I eventually got all the way, but for some people, they're gonna have to take a little bit more time in that growth zone, if you know what I mean. This one's kind of the ultimate tool about taking action, and it's this thing that you need to remember. Don't hate the player, hate the game. No one person singularly created this problem, and no one person is going to solve it on their own. That means that if you do something like buying plastic or something, and you didn't want to, but you did it anyway, because sometimes you don't have a choice, it's not your fault. Like, this is how the system is designed. We can take action on that. We can address the big players, and by that I mean write to companies, write to lawmakers, and ask them to make more eco-friendly policies, more eco-friendly products, and vote with your dollars and at the polls for companies that are going to do those things. This is a good way to make a change even when you're not able to make the most eco-friendly decisions in your everyday personal life. And on that note, I think it's really important to mention that eco-friendly businesses are going to look like a lot of different things, especially in different areas. There's no perfect thing, and I believe that we should invest in a spectrum of solutions because we're going to need an all hands on deck approach. Lots of different problems are going to require a lot of different solutions, and there's no one perfect way. You know, don't give into greenwashing, that's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about companies that you think maybe aren't doing zero waste or eco-friendly perfectly. Just know that not all companies are going to have a perfectly zero waste or perfectly eco-friendly product or solution, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. If we keep waiting for the perfect solution, I think we're just gonna be waiting for a long time. Here's another tool for the toolbox. Observe your feelings without judging them. This is going to help a lot in curbing your own personal suffering about it. For example, if you see a story about a terrible climate disaster and it makes you feel so horrible, you want to cry, you want to scream, instead of saying that this is so terrible, it's so bad, and reacting to it and then just getting angry, and then reacting to the anger, that's a death spiral. What is a little bit better to do is to notice how it's making you feel in your body, and then don't react to that feeling. Just notice it and accept it. So for example, instead of saying like, that makes me so angry, this is so bad, and death spiraling, notice it brings up a hot feeling in my chest. I feel tearful. I feel like I've just been like dunked in a pool of jello. Does anybody else feel like that when they're really angry? And also with mental health, it's useful to avoid black and white thinking that one thing is perfect and one thing is horrible. Understanding that there is nuance in everything can also really help you not react so strongly so that you can stay more mentally sound and healthy. So on that note, it's really good to focus on the things that you can change instead of the things that you can't. I've already talked about ways that you can influence politicians and businesses, and I also think that it's a good idea to focus on yourself and the changes that you can make in your own life without looking to others and comparing yourself, without looking to others and judging them for not doing it as well as you do, because everybody's in their own place. This is going to give you a greater sense of the power and autonomy you do have over some of the changes that you can make in your life. So for example, that might be eating less meat or just buying fewer things in general. Okay, and then here's the thing that's maybe a little bit radical, and it's not gonna be very easy for everybody, but looking at others who are not able to make any changes or are just not on the path at all, look at them with compassion and understanding, and that will actually help reduce your own suffering. What I mean by that is, you know, if you see people who are shopaholics and they're just buying everything, things that they don't need, things that you know are going to go to the landfill, don't let it make you upset. Instead, you can send some compassion to that person and say they don't know how much they are harming themselves and the planet by doing this thing, but here's some compassion for them. And I hope that they can find their way on the path eventually. This is a much more healthy way of dealing with others who are not, not doing it the same way as you. And you never know how much influence you have on others just by doing your thing in your way, in a positive way. Because at the end of the day, don't you guys remember that thing like 7 degrees of separation? 7 links separates you from every single other person on the entire planet. I was riding the bus the other day and I was looking at all of the strangers walking on the street, and I realized even though I just moved to this city and I don't really know anybody, there's probably only 2 or 3 connections between me and every single other person in this entire city. Berlin is huge. All that to say that if I am able to live an eco-friendly life with passion and compassion for others, I might be better at influencing others to make the changes that we all need to see in all of our lives. Only one person has to tell one person and another friend to probably get to every single person. we're not so different, we're not so far away than it feels like sometimes. I personally do have a lot of hope for the future. I really think that we can do this. We just gotta get it together, okay? And I hope that in this video you found some tools to help you kind of get yourself and stay on a good path toward an eco-friendly lifestyle without suffering. And if there's one or two or three things that I want you to take away from this video, it is that eco-anxiety is real, it's valid, it's common. There are some things that you can do to fight your eco-anxiety and that it doesn't have to be a miserable experience, okay? We're all in this together, we're gonna get through this. If you liked this video, there's another one here on the screen that you might like, and hit the subscribe button if you wanna see more content from me. I make videos about vegan food, sustainability, and radical self-care, and I wanna just say thank you so much for being a part of this community here on this channel and for watching this video. I hope it's really helpful to you, and if it is, I'd really like to know in the comments section, and like this video if you thought it was helpful and that other people should watch it. But for now, it's time to go, so thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!